What's up guys, today we will be going over the new exotic machine gun Xenophage, and if you guys need to get this weapon, I will link a guide in the description below. Go ahead and check that out. I do recommend when you get to the wall puzzles, try to figure it out for yourself, at least one of them. It's kind of fun to do it that way. If you like puzzles, you'll really enjoy that. But if you can't figure it out and once you get stuck, definitely look up the solution. But it is kind of fun just to try it yourself for a few minutes. Looking at the stats on this weapon, it's a 120 RPM with max impact and pretty much max range, as you see right there. Then looking at the exotic perk, its exotic perk pretty much just says it fires explosive ammo. And I must say, I'm not really a fan of all these new exotic perks that just say I shoot this type of ammo. That's kind of uncreative. But anyways, it has high cal, then also rangefinder, so pretty much infinite range, as you'll see in this video. So when you first start using this weapon, there's going to be a few things you notice right off the bat. It doesn't have that much ammo. Then also it cannot crit. It only does the explosion damage. The entire thing is pretty much like a grenade launcher where once it hits something, it will kind of explode. And you'll notice it does a lot more damage than a regular machine gun, then also shoots a lot slower. So with this explosive payload, you can get the full damage anywhere you hit the enemy, as you see right here. And you don't actually need to be hitting the enemy to get full damage. If they're close enough to the explosion, by shooting it under them, they also take full damage, as you see right there. So that means if there's enemies in a group, you shoot one and the ones nearby will also take the damage, almost like Dragonfly when you get a kill. But it's not quite as big of a radius as Dragonfly. But what's cool is you can shoot the ground in the middle of the pack, as you saw right there, and that seems to work really well. Then with rangefinder on this weapon and the fact that it's explosion payload type weapon, there pretty much is no damage drop off anywhere in the game. I believe the damage drop off starts at 150 meters, which in PvE pretty much will never happen, and in PvP, I mean, you have to be like on the furthest point away on a map to even see that. Now looking at the damage on Greg, it's only hit 10,215, which is a lot for a machine gun, as you would expect. Now looking at the rate of fire of this weapon, once again, it's a 120 RPM, and it has full auto. It's still a machine gun, so holding the trigger does shoot it full auto, even though it doesn't seem like it would. And that takes 6 seconds to shoot off one magazine, meaning the DPS is 22,133, which is, once again, pretty low for a power weapon, but all machine guns kind of lack in DPS department. Now looking at the base reload speed of this weapon, it's going to take very long, 5.3 seconds, which is eternity for reloading. Now we maxed out the reload speed with something like Xenophage and also Pulse Wave. As you see right here, get weak, put down the Rift, reload again, and that's going to be quite a bit quicker, still quite a while, but now at 3.583 seconds. So now if we look at the DPS over 2 magazines, including one reload, and see how that impacts the overall number and DPS of this weapon. Obviously, with a weapon like this having such a long reload, it should drastically lower the DPS, as you'll see here in a second. Shooting off these 2 magazines now takes 15.616 seconds, meaning DPS is now 17,008, which is pretty much borderline primary numbers. Another thing you can do that is pretty cool with this weapon is you can use Actium War Rig on Titan, which will load the machine gun ammo from the reserves as you shoot it. And this comes as an ARC chest piece from the collection, which means you can use double machine gun reserves, which is pretty nice. And as you see, if you have this chest piece on, you can shoot off the entire reserves, all 34 of it, without reloading once, which is kind of cool and will help you maintain that 22,000 DPS number throughout the entire reserves and kind of remove that downside of the really long reload on this weapon. So if you were using this on a single target, this would be the way to go and pretty much the only way to keep the DPS number at least respectable. Now looking at the total damage of this weapon, first with no reserve perks at all, we hold 26, so 2 magazines, that's 265,000 total damage, which is extremely low for exotic power weapon. Now we put on 2 machine gun reserves, you're going to get 4 more ammo per reserve, so now a total of 34. And once again, looking at total damage over those 34 shots, it's going to be 347,000, which once again, that is lower than almost every special weapon in the game. For comparison purposes, let's look at Thunderlord and see where some of these numbers stack up. So looking at the damage on Greg, it hits 1665. Then every like 12-ish ammo, it does this little chain lightning effect, which hits 3453. And over a full magazine of Thunderlord, it will do that chain lightning, as you see, 2, 3, 4, then 5 times. So 5 times per magazine, it will do that number. Now look at the rate of fire over just one magazine with this weapon. And as you shoot it, it kind of spins up and shoots quicker and quicker. And that will take roughly 6.266 seconds, meaning the DPS with everything included is 19,230, which is actually lower than that of Xenophage. So as I was explaining, all machine guns really lack in DPS department. What they're really meant to do is add clear, and as you see, Thunderlord holds 265 ammo. With everything included, the total damage output of Thunderlord will be 515,000, which is a lot more than that of Xenophage. And that is kind of what machine guns are good at. They're meant to be add clear weapons that aren't really good for DPS, but, you know, will shred through anything that walks in front of it. Before I get to my final breakdown of the weapon, looking at it in PvP, it hits 150, which means a 2-shot kill. Then also it hits in that radius, just like we were talking about before. So if there are 2 or more people right next to each other, they'll also take that 150 damage. Then, like I said before, this thing pretty much has infinite range. Pretty much anywhere in the game, you're not going to hit that damage drop off. As you see, even from right here, still hitting 150s, which is like 100 plus meters away. And on supers, it hits 71, which means it's going to be a 3-shot kill. Once again, if there's 2 supers nearby, you can kill them at the same time. This last clip is just trying to test where the radius of the AoE effect is, and as you see, it's not that far away, and at the very outer edge, it only hits like 50, so obviously as they get closer, they'll take more percent of that 150 damage. So overall, I guess it's kind of good in PvP. You don't get that much ammo for it, so you're pretty much better off just using any machine gun at that point. So some overall thoughts on this weapon. The hardest part for me about this weapon is trying to figure out what Bungie thought the intended use of this weapon would be. All the machine guns in the game are really good for ad clear, and they aren't very good for single target damage. In Xenophage, you can say the same thing for it also. With it being a 120 RPM with explosive round and also like almost no ammo at all, it pretty much limits its use to major clear, then maybe like ultra clear. And even at that, some of the majors take 2 or 3 shots, and if you have double reserves, you have 34 ammo. That means you're only killing like 11 majors. And it's pretty much impossible to use on red bars because of the fact you'll just run out of ammo so quick if you're shooting this thing at red bars. Even if you just only shoot them when they're in groups, even at that, you're going to be out of ammo in no time. And using it for a boss or something like that, the DPS just simply isn't that great, and that can be said about all machine guns, and there's just so many better options for that single target damage. And even if you were then using a phage on a single target, you're going to run out of ammo in like 20 seconds. So if it was a multiple phase fight, I mean, you're pretty much screwed after the first phase. So its lack of ammo pretty much makes it impossible to use on red bars, impossible to use on bosses, so that pretty much only leaves majors. And even at that, I mean, it kills majors pretty efficiently, but you can only do so many, then you're out of ammo. You compare that to something like Thunderlord with 265 ammo. Thunderlord will shred through red bars with the AoE, you know, chain lightning and all that stuff. And also, it can kill majors pretty quickly too, with the fact that it chains up as you hold down the trigger. And at the same time, its DPS is just slightly lower than Xenophage, so it's pretty much better in every single category than Xenophage, maybe outside of major clear. But once again, Xenophage will just run out of ammo, then Thunderlord will still be shooting. Then if you compare it to something like 21% Delirium, Delirium has like 400 plus ammo with double reserves. It absolutely shreds through red bars and majors when you have killing tally times 3. Then if you want to shoot at a single target, its DPS is probably the same, if not a little bit higher than Xenophage. So that's a legendary that is pretty much straight up better for every single Dane in the game than this exotic. This gun had way more ammo. I'm talking like 2 to 3 times the ammo reserves. So something like 60 to 80 maybe. It would just be in a lot better spot. Because the weapon design is actually pretty good. It feels good to shoot, it has really good range obviously, and it can kill things pretty quickly. Then even for red bars, you know, it's kind of fun to shoot it in the middle and just watch them all die. Majors, same thing. But you just can't really afford to do some of these things because of the ammo. But if you had that 60 to 80 ammo, then you could afford to use it on red bars. You could use it on a single target. You could use it for majors. And just having more ammo would unlock like all these different possibilities that you just physically can't do right now. So unlike Leviathan's Breath, where I just thought that weapon made no sense, it was pretty much in no man's land, I think this weapon has a purpose, has like a intended use, but it just can't achieve that because of the ammo reserves. Like I said a few times, machine guns just simply aren't good at single target damage, like they're just not. So pretty much their only use is ad clear, and when you have a machine gun with 26 ammo, I don't think that's gonna be very good for ad clear. So overall, I like the design of the weapon. I think with more ammo, it would definitely have a place in the game. It would be that ad clear machine gun that was good for, you know, the higher health targets. Then also at the same time, it would be good for group red bar clear. Something like Delirium or Thunderlord would still be better for red bar clear, but this would be better for that major and like ultra clear and things like that. Then at the same time, it would maintain decent red bar clear. And I think if that was the case, it would be usable. But right now, I definitely say this weapon is not worth the exotic slot at all. You just can't give up a good DPS option like Izanagi's Whisper, Anarchy, or whatever with no really return. If you were giving up that DPS for really good ad clear, that would make sense, but you can't really say that about this. Right now, you may as well just stick with 21% Delirium, then also use Izanagi's Burden, and that is going to be a much, much, much better overall loadout. Anyways, I think that's all I gotta say about this weapon. Do you agree with me that the ammo reserves is pretty much what is limiting this weapon's use? And if you do, how much ammo do you think it needs? I'm guessing like 60 to 80 would put it in the area where it needs to be. Anyways, let me know what you think about this weapon overall. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.